the beginning of 2024, when we should be looking forward with optimism. We're talking about imploding our economy, banning cars, registering plastics, and paying into the carbon tax instead. Well, not all of us. Alberta is fighting back, and we need to fight back, all because of the dangerous ideas of Minister Trudeau Guilbeault. It doesn't matter that he's been told twice by the Supreme Court and the federal court that his ideas are unconstitutional. The rule of law doesn't seem to slow things down. But all of this could stop right now. We could move away from dangerous ideological policies and instead focus on rational solutions for the future. This includes solutions that will help us achieve a realistic goal of reaching carbon neutrality by 2050. And Alberta's committed to that goal. We have billions of dollars of private investment in new technologies that are geared toward eliminating emissions and creating a better future that includes large investment in Alberta over a decade. Dow's Path to Zero project, the world's first net zero plastics manufacturing facility, and another Alberta first, a new net zero hydrogen plant by Air Products. We have and will continue to invest billions into carbon capture projects and programs. The truth is, Ottawa likes to tell all of us what to do when it comes to emissions reduction. And Minister Guilbeault has even gone to China to do the same, but it's hypocritical. The truth is, Alberta has met emissions reduction targets while the federal government has yet to meet a single one of theirs. The truth is, we don't need to destroy our economy to achieve a better future. Alberta continues to prove that. And we don't need to work against each other. But as long as Ottawa brings in policies and legislation that hurts Alberta and hurts Canadians, our government will continue to stand up and will continue to fight back. Alberta and Ottawa can have a positive and collaborative relationship, but not with this environment, Minister, and not with these dangerous policies. Albertans can rest assured we will keep on defending the rule of law, the Constitution, the needs of our province, and what's best for you whenever necessary. And we will keep on pressing forward in 2024.
Well, there you have it. You know, I was only going to show a couple of minutes of that, but I wanted to keep watching. I thought it flowed fairly well. Joining us now from Edmonton, our friend Lauren Gunter, senior columnist at the Edmonton Sun. Lauren, what do you think of that video? It's I like this style of politicians doing slightly longer explications. Poilievre's done some great ones. What do you think of this one by Premier Danielle Smith?
Well, I think this is where news is going, basically, is to podcast like presentations. I think this one's good. Purely from a production standpoint, I'm not quite sure why she needed to keep walking around the entire time. It looked a little fidgety to me, but the tone is good. The messaging is solid. She goes into some details, which you can do in 4 minutes and you can't do in a 15 or 30-second sound bite. I think it plays on people's intelligence. It doesn't talk down to ordinary individuals. It says, look, you're smart enough to understand this. Here's what we're going to do, and here's why we think it's important. So I do think that this one and the Poilievre ones are very good because people have an attention span online video for about 4 minutes. So I think that's right. I think she's done a good job there.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, video is our main business here at Rebel News, and 3.5, 4 minutes, that seems to be the sweet spot. I mean, listen, I believe you can tell a story for as long as you remain interesting. So you could go to 10 minutes, but I think she had the right length. It's interesting. She called it, "Is Canada Broken?" And of course, from Alberta's point of view, focusing on Stephen Guilbeault's ideological plans for the province was the right thing. She didn't talk about other things that make Canada feel broken for ordinary folks, which might include the cost of housing or inflation on groceries. I guess she alluded to some of that with the carbon tax, but it really was a focus on what I would call Ottawa's war on Alberta. And yeah, I found, go ahead.
No, and you need to, if you're going to include carbon tax in the cost of living, you need to say that. Right. You need to say specifically that the carbon tax adds to the cost of every item in the grocery store because they all have to be trucked there in one form or another. And as a result of that, the carbon tax makes your family dinner more expensive. You can't just count on people to draw that connection themselves. But I think by and large, given that it's a 4-minute format, aside from the I don't know, the frenetic nature of this walking around by the legislature all the time, I liked it. I thought it was very effective.
You know, I think the thing that stood out for me the most was the focus on one person, not Trudeau, not a cabinet minister in Alberta, but Stephen Guilbeault. And I've had a contretemps with Stephen Guilbeault as well. He hates Rebel News. He's blocked us on Twitter. We had to go to court against him. I mean, I find him so irritating because he is, I think, as Danielle Smith describes him, he's an ideologue. And he, and
absolutely.
And his idea, like a plastics registry, that is so.
Well, and you know, for a man who's been told twice in the last 6 months by senior federal courts that his environmental actions are unconstitutional, a plastics registry would be unconstitutional. That's in provincial realm completely. So the idea is he's smug, he's arrogant, he is a zealot, and he has no belief in federalism. He has no belief in the Constitution. He doesn't like the way this country is founded. He thinks that if you are a morally superior individual such as himself and you are in the federal government, you should be able to tell everyone everywhere in the country how to run their lives. And so he is a good person to pick out. He's also he's probably better known in Alberta than he is everywhere else but Quebec, because he has done so many things to Alberta, not for Alberta, not with Alberta's assistance, but to Alberta, that we know who Stephen Guilbeault is out here. He's the new Marc Lalonde.
Right.
Justin's daddy had Marc Lalonde, who was in charge of the National Energy Program.
Yeah.
And Stephen Guilbeault is Justin Trudeau's Marc Lalonde.
Yeah. A dumber Marc Lalonde. I remember Marc Lalonde when I was a kid. He was the energy minister who basically gave the game away. He said the point of the National Energy Program is to stop the economic center of gravity in Canada from moving from the east to the west. And Stephen Guilbeault lacks Marc Lalonde's brains, but he shares Marc Lalonde's despise for the West. We know him because we like to remind people that he's a convicted criminal, that when he was a Greenpeace extremist, he broke into the CN Tower in Toronto and rappelled down, and it cost tens of thousands of dollars. He had to shut everything down. And he laughed at the judge. He laughed. I'm very contrite, Your Honor. So he was given no prison. And then outside the court, he laughed about it. So he rules mean nothing to him. The law means nothing to him.
He also climbed on the roof of Ralph Klein's private home
while Mrs. Klein was inside, terrified that it was a home invasion.
That's right. He put fake solar panels on the roof of Klein's private home. Yeah. Not the Premier's office, not some public building. He went to Klein's private home, climbed on the roof, frightened the bejeebers out of Mrs. Klein, and was similarly not contrite for what he had done.
Imagine putting a man of such extremism in your cabinet. I only imagine what the RCMP background checks and securities found about him that we don't even know about. Imagine going on to someone, and the Premier was not home. The Premier was in Edmonton or whatever, Ralph Klein I'm talking about, and Guilbeault goes, and imagine how scared the missus would have been that this maniac is on the roof of the house. I'm glad you reminded me of that. I think he's detestable. It reminds me of Saul Alinsky's book, Rules for Radicals. If all our viewers have heard of that, I should do a book review on that. Saul Alinsky was a communist street organizer in the U.S., and he started community organizing. That was his thing. He was sort of a mentor to Hillary Clinton. That's where Barack Obama came up. And he had he called them Rules for Radicals. And he said, it's one thing to be chanting outside, but do you actually want to change the world? Here's how. And it's actually been an extremely successful battle plan for Antifa and the likes of them. One of the rules for radicals that I know, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have the exact wording in front of me, is personalize the story around a particular person. What I mean by that is instead of saying the liberals or even Trudeau, which is a generic word, Stephen Guilbeault, because he's so detestable. He's so irritating. He even looks like he needs a bath and a haircut. And I shouldn't talk because I look rough sometimes too. But he just looks so odious. And I think that was the smart, because I think Albertans, to personalize it on that ideological maniac, I think that's what makes it effective. I don't know. How's this video being received? Has it had a lot of views?
It hasn't had much view. It hasn't had many views yet. I think it will get more views. I think it's one of those ones like the 4-minute one that Polyev did on housing affordability. It'll take a while, but it will then start to take off. As people start to send the link around to their friends and they start to post it on social media and things. Yeah. But the thing I like about it the most is I have thought for the last few months that the Smith government was fighting the Feds on too many fronts. They were starting too many fires in different places over related but not identical topics. And this brings all of their fights together into one place to explain why it is that in a general sense, Alberta feels set upon, attacked, singled out by the federal government. And I think in that respect, it's not only going to be effective with Albertans, it might actually get some play outside the province and help people in other provinces understand what it is that the federal government is doing to Alberta every minute of every day with every policy they can think of.